I never thought that watching my only son get married would end in his fiancée screaming at me to leave my own venue. "You're not welcome here," Emma hissed, her manicured fingers stabbing the air. "You've done enough damage. Leave." The laughter and music stopped. Every pair of eyes turned to me. I froze, clutching my purse, the same one carrying the $50,000 check I wrote to fund this entire wedding. My son, my baby boy, just stood there staring at the floor. Not a word, not even a glance. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Don't cry. Don't give her the satisfaction. As I walked out past rows of guests pretending not to stare, I felt something break inside me. I paid for everything. The dress, the flowers, the venue, and they tossed me out like garbage. I sat in my car in the darkened parking lot. The memory of Emma's voice, sharp and dripping with venom, replayed in my mind like a cruel loop. "You're not welcome here." The worst part wasn't Emma. It was Ryan, my son. He had stood there like a stranger, his eyes fixed on the floor, too cowardly to even defend me. My phone buzzed in the cup holder, lighting up with text after text. "Why did you leave? Are you okay? Don't make a scene, Colleen." Not one message asking what they had done to me. Not one person taking my side. A sob rose in my throat, but I swallowed it down. I wouldn't cry for them. Not tonight. Instead, I let the anger rise and harden inside me, solid and cold like steel. They thought I was weak because I stayed. Quiet. They thought they could humiliate me and still enjoy the fantasy wedding I'd built for them. No more. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and pulled up the email from the wedding planner. My thumb hovered over her contact for a moment. Then I took a deep breath and hit call. The line rang twice before she answered, her voice chipper and professional. "Hi, Colleen. I was just going over the final details for tomorrow. I'm canceling everything," I said flatly. There was a pause on the other end. I'm sorry. I said cancel everything. The venue, the vendors, the payments. I'm pulling out. Colleen, the contracts are under your name. But are you sure? This is so last minute. I'm sure if I'm not welcome at this wedding, neither is my money. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my hands had stopped shaking. The anger had settled into something sharper. Determination. They wanted me gone. Fine. But they would learn painfully that this entire fantasy was built on my back. I sat at my kitchen table, flipping through the neatly labeled wedding binder I'd created for Ryan and Emma. Each tab was a reminder of my generosity. Venue, caterer, florist, photographer, entertainment. They had contributed nothing but Pinterest boards and entitled attitudes. Every invoice, every contract, every signature, mine. I picked up the phone and started dialing. First, the venue. "Hi, this is Colleen Meyer. I'm the contract holder for the Myers-Whitaker wedding tomorrow." "Yes, of course. We're all set to. I'm canceling effective immediately." There was a long pause. "Ma'am, are you sure?" "There's a substantial cancellation fee." "That won't be necessary. I'm the one who paid the deposit, and I'm within my rights under the contract." Silence. Then a cautious reply. "Understood. We'll process the termination." Click. Next. The florist. The same routine. Then the caterer. Then the photographer. Each time I felt my spine straighten a little more. With every call, the picture became clearer. Ryan and Emma hadn't just wanted my support, they had expected it. The wedding wasn't theirs. It was mine. Paid for, arranged, and held together by me. And if I wasn't welcome, neither was my money. As I ended the last call with the band, I allowed myself a small, cold smile. Tomorrow, they'd wake up thinking they were heading into their fairy tale. But there would be no flowers, no food, no music, nothing but the wreckage of their own entitlement. The house was silent except for the soft click of my mouse as I scrolled through my emails. I opened the PDF attachments one by one. Venue agreement catering contract band writer. Each line carried my name, my signature, my billing address. They loved my money more than me, I thought bitterly. Weeks ago, Emma had insisted we'll pay you back for half. I promise as soon as Ryan gets his promotion. That promise felt laughable now. I clicked open the florist's contract and scanned the fine print. Cancellation by the client results in a forfeit of the deposit. But I was the client, not Emma, not Ryan. A surge of vindication coursed through me. They couldn't call these vendors and magically reinstate anything. Without me, they were helpless. The sound of a car door slamming outside pulled me from my thoughts. I peeked through the blinds. Ryan's car. My chest tightened as I watched him stride toward my front door. He moved with an urgency I hadn't seen in years. A sharp knock echoed through the house. "Mom, open up. We need to talk." I didn't move. Another knock, louder this time. "Mom, I know you're in there." I sat perfectly still, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. Let him sweat. Let him wonder if I'd answer. He didn't get to demand my time anymore. After a minute, I heard his voice, angrier now, muffled through the door. "You can't do this. It's our wedding." My lips curled into the faintest smile. "No, Ryan. It wasn't yours. It never was." The knocking stopped eventually, but I didn't move from my chair. My heart thudded so hard it felt like it might crack a rib, but I forced myself to sit still, staring at the cursor, blinking on my screen. For 30 years, I had been the one to fix things, the one to smooth over arguments, write the checks, and bite my tongue for the sake of peace. But not anymore. The silence outside stretched on. I peeked through the blinds again. Ryan's car was gone. Then my phone vibrated violently on the table. Ryan, 6:13 p.m. Why aren't you answering? Ryan, 6:14 p.m. What the hell is going on? Ryan, 6:15 p.m. You're ruining our lives. The last one made me laugh out loud, a bitter, hollow sound that didn't even feel like my own voice. I let it buzz again and again until finally, against my better judgment, I answered, "Mom, what the hell are you doing?" Ryan's voice cracked with rage. "You can't just cancel the wedding everyone's expecting. Stop." My voice was low, cold, calmer than I felt. "You stood there yesterday and let her humiliate me in front of everyone. You didn't say a word because I didn't want to make a scene." "Oh, but it was fine for Emma to make one." There was a pause. A long one. "Mom, listen." Emma was upset. "But she didn't mean it like that." "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I snapped. "I paid for everything, Ryan, the venue, the food, the music, all of it. And you let her treat me like an unwanted guest. It's our wedding," he shouted. "No," I said evenly. "It was my gift, and now it's gone." "Mom, please. You can't do this. We'll lose the venue, the vendors. Emma's in tears right now. She should have thought about that before she threw me out of my own event." A beep interrupted our tense silence. Another message flashed across my screen. Emma, 6:18 p.m. You bitter, jealous old woman. You've always hated me. Emma, 6:19 p.m. I can't believe you're ruining Ryan's life out of spite. Emma, 6:20 p.m. Stay away from us. You're toxic. My lips pressed into a tight line as I read them. "Did you see the text she's sending me?" I asked Ryan. "She's just upset," he muttered. "You mean she's showing her true colors?" "Mom." "Goodbye, Ryan." I hung up before he could say another word. For a moment, I just sat there staring at the wall, my chest heaving. My phone buzzed again and again, lighting up with Emma's name. I turned it over, face down on the table. Tomorrow, their perfect little castle would come crumbling down, and for once, I wouldn't be the one rushing in to save them. The pounding on my door started before 900 a.m. "Mom, open the door. We need to talk." I didn't move at first. I had barely slept. My coffee sat untouched on the counter, its steam long gone cold. The pounding came again, louder this time. "Mom, don't make me stand out here all day." With a deep breath, I walked to the door and cracked it open. Ryan's face was flushed, his hair unkempt like he hadn't slept either. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "What the hell, Mom?" he barked, his voice rising, before he even set foot in the living room. "You've destroyed everything. Do you even care what you've done to me?" To Emma. "Lower your voice," I said coolly. "You're in my house." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. "The vendors are all gone. The venue says they've been booked out to another couple. The florist won't return our calls. Do you even understand what you've done?" "Yes," I said calmly. "I've stopped funding my own humiliation." His eyes widened in disbelief. "Humiliation? Emma was upset. She didn't mean what she said. Oh, she meant it, I snapped. She stood in front of everyone and told me to leave. And you let her. His jaw tightened. I was trying not to make it worse. You stood there like a stranger, Ryan. You didn't defend me. You didn't even look at me. His voice dropped low, cold now. You've always been like this, controlling, selfish. This is why Dad left. The words hit like a slap. My breath caught in my throat, but instead of crumbling, I felt something inside me harden. Selfish, I repeated, my voice trembling with fury. Do you know how much I've sacrificed for you? The countless checks I wrote, the hours I worked, the dreams I gave up to make sure you could have yours. He flinched slightly, but his expression remained defiant. You've chosen her over me, I said quietly. So, let her pay for the wedding she wants. He stared at me, his mouth opening as if to argue, but no words came. I walked to the door and opened it wide. You should go. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he stormed past me, slamming the door so hard the walls rattled. I sank onto the couch, my hands trembling. For the first time in years, I realized Ryan wasn't the boy I had raised. He was a man I didn't recognize anymore. By noon, the phone calls started. First, it was my sister-in-law, Linda. Colleen, she began cautiously. I just heard from Ryan. He's devastated. You've got to fix this. I stared at the phone, my lips pressed into a thin line. Fix this. How exactly? Reinstate the payments, she said gently. They're young. They made a mistake. But this is their wedding. You don't want to ruin it for them. My hands curled into fists. I didn't ruin anything, I said quietly. They ruined it the moment they treated me like a stranger. There was an awkward pause. Colleen, you've always been strong-willed. Maybe Emma felt threatened by that. Threatened? I paid for her entire fantasy wedding. Look, Linda sighed. I'm just saying, don't let pride get in the way of family. Be the bigger person. I ended the call without replying. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. Colleen. My stomach nodded. That voice. Mark, I said flatly. My ex-husband. Ryan's father. Ryan called me, he said. He's beside himself. I don't know what happened at the rehearsal, but this canceling everything, it's too much. Too much? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. Mark, where were you when Emma threw me out in front of 50 people? Where were you when our son stood there like a coward? Don't make this about old wounds, he said sharply. This isn't the time. Just let them have their day. Be the bigger person. There it is again, I said bitterly. Be the bigger person. That's code for keep paying and keep quiet. Colleen, don't be dramatic. Goodbye, Mark. I hung up before he could finish. I stared at my reflection in the window, my face pale and drawn. So, this was it. I wasn't family to them. I was a wallet with a pulse. The realization didn't crush me the way I expected. Instead, it settled into my bones, cold and heavy. They thought I was weak because I loved them, but they were about to learn that love has limits. I don't remember when the tears started or when they stopped. I only remember sitting in the dim glow of my kitchen, clutching a mug of cold tea and staring at the floor, hours slipping by like sand through my fingers. The grief came in waves, not just for Ryan and Emma, but for the years I spent bending, breaking, and bleeding myself dry for people who now saw me as expendable. The phone buzzed again. This time, a cousin. Colleen, don't destroy the family over one misunderstanding. I silenced it without answering. Somewhere between the sobs and the silence, an image flashed in my mind, my wedding day. I was 23, standing in a lace dress that cost more than our first car. My mother-in-law had pulled me aside that morning and said, "Remember, quiet women make the best wives. Don't make waves." Back then, I nodded, smiled, and swallowed every single wave that tried to rise in me. But now, sitting alone in my kitchen decades later, I finally saw it clearly. Quiet doesn't mean weak. I wasn't the same woman who once bent herself in half to keep everyone happy. That woman was gone. A strange calm settled over me, heavier than exhaustion, but sharper than grief. I rose from my chair, placed the untouched tea in the sink, and wiped my cheeks. Enough crying, enough begging. For scraps of love and respect. If Ryan and Emma thought they could humiliate me and still waltz down the aisle in the fairy tale I paid for, they were wrong. Dead wrong. The next morning, I made an appointment with Margaret Chen. Margaret had been my attorney for years, sharp, discreet, and unshakable. As I sat across from her in her sunlit office, I felt the familiar knot in my stomach tighten. "Colleen," she said kindly, folding her hands. "You look tired. Tell me what's going on." I laid it all out. The rehearsal dinner, Emma's public humiliation, Ryan's silence, the wedding I had funded down to the last napkin, and how I'd canned every single vendor. Margaret listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When I finally stopped talking, she leaned back in her chair. "Let me be very clear," she said. "You've done absolutely nothing wrong. Every contract is in your name. Every payment was from your account. If they want this wedding, they'll have to pay for it themselves." I exhaled slowly, a small flicker of relief breaking through the anger. "But what if they try to sue me?" I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. Margaret's lips curved into a faint smile. "On what grounds? They don't have a leg to stand on, and if they or their lawyer are foolish enough to send you a letter, forward it to me. I'll handle it." A sharp knock on the office door startled me. Margaret's assistant poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt. There's a man on the phone. He says it's urgent." Ryan Meyer. I froze. Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Do you want to take it?" "No," I said quickly. "Not now." "Good," Margaret replied. "Let him sweat. You've spent long enough carrying him." For the first time in weeks, I felt something unfamiliar in my chest. Not anger, not grief. It was power. Real quiet power. I nodded. "You're right." Margaret slid a packet of papers across the desk. "I'll draft a formal notice to every vendor confirming cancellation and your sole legal authority. And if Ryan or Emma show up here, they'll be speaking to me, not you." As I signed the papers, my hand no longer shook. Let them rage. Let them scream. I wasn't their wallet anymore. By the time I got home from Margaret's office, my phone was buzzing nonstop. At first I ignored it, but then the notifications flooded in. Dozens of them. Facebook, Instagram, even texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. My stomach sank. I opened Facebook. The first thing I saw was Emma's face, red-eyed and tear-streaked, hair pulled into a perfect messy bun as she clutched a tissue in her hand. The caption above her video read, "I never thought my future ML would destroy our wedding out of jealousy and spite. My heart is broken." I hit play. She canned everything. Emma sobbed to the camera. The venue, the flowers, the food, she even threatened the vendors. After all we've done for her, she's trying to ruin. The happiest day of our lives. Her voice cracked for dramatic effect. We didn't want to share this publicly, but she left us no choice. Please pray for us as we try to rebuild what she tore down. The comments were already piling up. Wow, what kind of mother does that? Cut her off. She sounds toxic. So sorry, Emma. Stay strong. A fresh wave of anger burned in my chest as I scrolled. Every word was a lie. After all we've done for her, I had paid for her dream wedding. I had written checks for her designer, dress, her overpriced venue, her hand-picked caterer, and now she was painting me as the villain. Another notification popped up, this time from Instagram. Emma had posted a photo of her and Ryan embracing, captioned, "We will not let hate win. Family is who supports you, not who tears you down." Hundreds of likes, dozens of supportive comments. I felt my hands shake, not from grief, but from fury. I opened my notes app and started a list. Every post, every comment, every lie. I screenshot them one by one, saving each, carefully into a folder marked for Margaret. If Emma wanted a war, she was going to get one, but not the kind she expected. This time, I wouldn't cry. This time, I wouldn't beg. This time, I would fight. It started with an email from the florist. "We regret to inform you that due to a canceled contract, we are unable to provide services for the Mere Whitaker wedding. We wish you the best moving forward." Then the photographer posted an Instagram story about an unexpected opening this weekend and tagged their business account. Next came the band, a polite voicemail. "Hi, Colleen. Just wanted to confirm we've marked the Mere Whitaker event as canceled. Thanks for letting us know." The dominoes were falling one after the other. By Friday morning, the wedding was in shambles. And that's when the call came. Emma. Her voice was different this time, tight and trembling, but laced with sugar. "Colleen, can we talk?" "I'm listening," I said flatly. I know things got heated at the rehearsal, but we were all stressed. You know how weddings are. I shouldn't have said what I said. "You told me to leave," I said coldly, in front of everyone. I was overwhelmed. But please, let's not throw everything away over one mistake. Ryan and we can't afford to lose all the deposits. The guests are expecting a wedding. I could almost hear her trying to smile through gritted teeth. "Be reasonable," she said. "Do this for Ryan. Don't ruin his big day." My hand tightened around the phone. "I'm not ruining anything," I said calmly. "I'm saving myself." There was silence on the line. Then her voice dropped the sugary tone. "You're a bitter old woman," she hissed. "You've always been jealous of me. Ryan deserves better than you. Then he can marry better too." I ended the call before she could respond. The phone rang again almost immediately. Ryan this time. I let it go to voicemail. I was sitting at my desk scrolling through emails when I saw it. The subject line read, "Final Payment Confirmation Maldives Honeymoon Package." At first I thought it was spam, but then I saw the email address, ColleenAOL.com. My stomach dropped. I clicked it open. "Thank you for booking your 14-night stay in the Maldives Overwater Villa with private butler service. We'll enjoy unlimited champagne and a private yacht excursion as part of their package. Congratulations. The date of the booking was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, while I was meeting Emma for lunch to discuss floral arrangements, she had been using my credit card to plan a $26,000 honeymoon without asking, without a single word. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. Another email. Thank you for your recent purchase. Bridal luggage set. Louis Vuitton. I felt something inside me snap. They hadn't just taken my generosity for granted. They had planned this from the start. The wedding wasn't a celebration of love. It was a heist. A slow, calculated extraction of my money, my trust, my dignity, and they hadn't even bothered to hide it. I opened my banking app and scrolled through recent transactions. $2,400 Emma's boutique, $850 private chef deposit, $3,200 exclusive spa treatments, Maldives. Not a single charge made by me, not one. I stared at the numbers on the screen, my jaw tight, my pulse pounding. They never intended to pay me back. Not for the wedding, not for anything. And yet, they had the audacity to call me selfish. I closed the laptop with a sharp snap and sat back in my chair. There would be no more phone calls, no more second chances, no more motherly indulgence. They had shown me who they were. Now it was time for me to show them who I was. The voicemail came late that night. The screen lit up as I was folding laundry. Ryan, 10:47 p.m. For a moment, I hesitated. A small, stupid part of me thought, maybe, just maybe, he was calling to apologize. I pressed play. Mom. His voice was cold, flat. I don't even know why I'm bothering with this. You've never been a real mother to me? Not really. Always too busy, too controlling, too cold. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. Emma was right about you. You've been jealous of her from the start. That's why you're doing this. You can't stand to see me happy. There was a pause, a sharp exhale. No wonder Dad left you. I get it now. The words hit like a slap across the face. No wonder Dad left you. That's who you are. Alone. Bitter. Always the victim. And now you've destroyed the one good thing in my life. The line clicked dead. I stood there staring at the phone, the air heavy and still around me. Not a tear fell. Not this time. Instead, I felt empty, hollow, like a cord had finally snapped inside me. Slowly, I pressed my thumb against the screen and hit delete. The message disappeared, and with it, something else disappeared too. The last fragile thread tying me to the boy I used to love more than life itself. Being alone is better than being used. I set the phone down and turned off the light. It was over. The next morning, I sat in Margaret's office, my hands wrapped around a mug of tea I hadn't touched. Margaret had already read the transcripts of Emma's posts and Ryan's cruel voicemail. Her face was calm, but her eyes had a sharp edge I hadn't seen before. This isn't just entitlement anymore, she said. It's harassment, and we're going to shut it down. She slid a draft across the desk. Cease and desist. Harassment, defamation, unauthorized use of funds. I skimmed the bolded lines, my heart pounding, not from fear, but from something harder, cleaner. Margaret's voice cut through the room like a scalpel. We're sending this directly to Emma. 1 copy certified mail, 1 via email, and 1 to her parents. They need to understand that if they keep this up, there will be consequences. I nodded, my fingers tightening around the mug. Now about Ryan. Margaret tapped a folder labeled Joint Accounts. Did you know he's been pulling from the account you opened for him in college? My stomach twisted. I thought he stopped using it years ago. He didn't. In fact, she opened a print out of recent transactions. He withdrew $7,500 last month, right after you paid the venue deposit. The blood drained from my face. Margaret didn't flinch. We freeze it now. Today, before he decides to drain the rest. For a moment, my hands hovered over the folder. That account had been my way of saying, I'll always be here for you. But that promise didn't mean the same thing anymore. Do it, I said quietly. Margaret nodded. Consider it handled. She reached for her phone and began issuing instructions to her paralegal. Her voice was steady, professional, unbothered. Exactly the kind of calm I needed right now. As I listened to her dictate the cease and desist letter, something strange settled over me. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry anymore. For the first time in weeks, I felt steady. Ryan and Emma had taken enough from me. My money, my dignity, my role as a mother. They wouldn't take another thing. Margaret ended the call and looked at me with a faint smile. You've done everything right, Colleen. If they want a wedding, they'll have to pay for it themselves. I let out a slow breath. Let them try, I said softly. By the end of the week, the cracks in their fairy tale had turned into gaping holes. It started with a post on Emma's Instagram, a filtered photo of her hand clutching Ryan's. The caption read, "Trying to stay strong during this difficult time. Please respect our privacy." The comments were a mix of pity and confusion. What happened? I thought the wedding was this weekend. Sending love. Stay strong, babe. 2 hours later, Linda texted me. Colleen, did you really cancel the wedding? Everyone's talking about it. I didn't respond. It wasn't my job to explain myself anymore. The phone rang again, this time an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Colleen, it's Gary Whitaker, Emma's father. His voice was tight, clipped, like he was forcing every word through clenched teeth. I don't know what Emma said to you at the rehearsal, but surely you can't mean to ruin the whole wedding over one misunderstanding? I stayed silent, waiting for the real reason he had called. He exhaled sharply. Listen, if this is about money, I can't lie. We're in a tight spot right now, but I'm sure we can work something out if you'll just reinstate the payments. There it was. I almost laughed. The same man who'd been too proud to speak to me for months was now begging for my help. No, I said simply. You'll have to figure it out on your own. Do you know what this will do to Emma? He barked. The guests, the reputation of both families. I ended the call mid-sentence. The next day, I got an email from the venue manager. Dear Ms. Meyer, as per your cancellation request, the Myers-Whitaker wedding has been removed from our schedule. Please note, the date has been rebooked. Rebooked. Their dream wedding wasn't just canceled. It now belonged to someone else. For a moment, I pictured Emma scrolling through Pinterest, screaming at Ryan while her parents sat helpless on their couch. But I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt nothing. The email came late Sunday night. I almost didn't open it. The subject line alone made my stomach turn. Let's put this behind us. I clicked anyway. Mom, we've decided to forgive you for everything that's happened. I know emotions were high and people said things they didn't mean. Emma and I talked it over and we're willing to let you come to the wedding if you can behave and not make things awkward. This is our day and we'd appreciate it if you didn't make it about you. Let's move forward as a family. Ryan, I stared at the screen, my jaw slack. Forgive me? A laugh burst out of my throat before I could stop it. It started small, sharp, but grew until I was clutching my sides, shaking with bitter amusement. Forgive me. After I funded their fairy tale, after Emma threw me out of the rehearsal like some hired help, after Ryan stood there silent while I was humiliated in front of everyone and they thought I needed forgiving, I wiped a tear from the corner of my eye, not from sadness, but from laughing too hard. I hit reply and hovered my fingers over the keyboard, but I didn't type a single word. They didn't deserve a response. Instead, I closed the laptop and pushed it aside. They could keep their little fantasy of control. I was done playing the fool. The wedding day came anyway. A bright Saturday morning in June, exactly as Emma had wanted. I woke to the sound of birds outside my hotel window, the scent of eucalyptus drifting through the air. The spa had upgraded me to a suite with a private balcony overlooking the ocean. At noon, I was stretched out on a Shaw's lounge, my hair wrapped in a towel, a chilled glass of champagne in hand. A notification pinged on my phone. Today's the day. Can't wait to see you both at 2 p.m. A guest clearly unaware that the fairy tale had crumbled. I sipped my champagne and smiled faintly. At exactly 2 p.m., I imagined the venue, now booked for another couple, bustling with flowers and laughter that had nothing to do with Ryan or Emma. The thought didn't bring satisfaction. It brought peace. For the first time in years, I felt weightless. The staff brought me a fruit platter and refilled my glass. I reached for my phone, opened Instagram, and snapped a photo of the view. Endless blue sky, sunlight sparkling on the water, my champagne flute glinting in the corner. I typed a short caption. Best decision I ever made. No context, no names, but I knew they'd see it and they'd know exactly what I meant. By Monday morning, the whispers had turned into a roar. It started with a single comment under Emma's tearful Instagram post. Didn't Colleen pay for the whole wedding, though? This doesn't add up. At first, Emma's friends rushed to defend her. Don't spread lies. You don't know the full story. She's a toxic mom trying to ruin their happiness. But then another comment appeared. My cousin works at the venue. Colleen booked and paid for everything. Emma and Ryan didn't pay a dime. The dam broke. Screenshots of Emma's honeymoon package charged to my credit card somehow leaked into a wedding gossip group. People were ruthless, so they used her to pay for a wedding and luxury vacation, then humiliated her. Classy. Imagine biting the hand that feeds you. They deserve each other, spoiled and entitled. Even some of Ryan's old college friends weighed in. Not surprised, he always let women walk all over him. I didn't comment. I didn't like or share, but I saved every single screenshot. Later that afternoon, Linda, my sister-in-law, called. Colleen? She began cautiously. I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. We all thought Emma made it sound like you were trying to sabotage them for no reason. You believed her? I said calmly. I know, Linda sighed. But people are starting to see the truth now. I just wanted you to know. You're not alone in this anymore. I didn't reply. I didn't need her pity. What I needed and finally had was clarity. For years, I let people take and take, thinking it was my job to keep the peace. But peace bought with self-sacrifice isn't peace. It's silence. And I was done being silent. By the time the second week passed, the gossip had spread like wildfire. Emma's Instagram account had gone silent. Ryan's profile picture disappeared. It started small. One mutual friend posting, "Maybe don't bite the hand that feeds you next time." Then a cousin of Emma's shared a cryptic tweet. If you can't afford your own wedding, don't scream at the person paying for it. People weren't just whispering anymore. They were laughing. Screenshots of Emma's posts leaked into a wedding forum. Brides and strangers alike ripped her apart. She ruined her own wedding by being a brat. Sounds like she thought her M was her sugar mama. The entitlement is unreal. Who throws out the person funding the whole event? Even vendors joined in. A florist posted anonymously. We warned her that her mother-in-law was the contract holder. She didn't care. She thought she was above consequences. I didn't say a word. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of crawling out on its own. By the end of the month, Emma and Ryan's guest list had evaporated. Friends stopped answering their calls. Their dream wedding was the talk of the town, not as a celebration, but as a cautionary tale. And me? I was sitting on a balcony 2 states away, watching the sun dip below the horizon with a glass of champagne in my hand. I posted one quiet photo, my feet propped up, the ocean stretching out endlessly before me. The caption simple. Happiness. Looks better on me. I didn't check for likes or comments. I didn't care if Ryan saw it, or Emma, or any of the relatives who had once called me dramatic. This wasn't for them. This was for me. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Ryan. I stared at the screen for a long moment before pressing decline. A text followed. Can we talk? We made mistakes. I turned off the phone and set it face down on the table. For years, I let people pull me into their storms. Now, I chose peace. And peace meant never stepping back into their chaos again. They thought they could humiliate me and still live off my generosity. They were wrong. I wasn't their wallet. I was their wake-up.